Hello, I'm Archana Kulkarni, and I welcome you to SheThePeople.tv's Mental Health Summit Reframe 2024. This year, the focus is on mental health at the workplace. The workplace today is perceived as a stressful zone, not a place of joy and fulfillment. It is as if work and life are watertight compartments when they're certainly not. Can adopting yogic practices steer us towards the goal of attaining balance and the highest potential in personal and professional life? How can we create work, happy work environments? To throw light on this, we have a very special guest today. Greesha Dhingra, founder of Adhyatma Yoga, is not only a very popular yoga sadhak and teacher, she has also spent 8 years in a dynamic corporate career in advertising and marketing. When she embarked on a journey of self exploration, she discovered her unwavering devotion to yoga and committed herself to spreading its authentic teachings. Drawing from her experience and insights in the corporate sector, Grisha has designed wellness programs that help employees navigate daily life challenges. Namaste and welcome, Grisha ji. It's so wonderful to have you with us.
Namaste, Archana ji.
So, my first question to you, Grisha ji, is you spent a great part of your life, at least 8 years, of course, in the corporate world. And at one point, you felt a strong urge to slow down and move towards a life that felt more wholesome. So, what was missing? What drew you towards yoga?
I think I would say that this was not just for me a transformation from corporate life to yogic life, but also a great realization. The biggest realizations that I've had in my life came during this time. And I was sort of forced to realize it, by God, because when you are working, you're busy in your mundane life, you're going on and on and on without stopping, without reflecting, and suddenly corona happened where everything
Hmm.
was shut. We were locked in our houses, and all that we considered as our pathways of success and what we call life, remaining busy, working, socializing, spending time outdoors, doing something or the other, lots of action suddenly came to stand still. I was locked inside, and the first few days were okay, but then eventually I started to feel unhappy, and I realized if all of this is taken away from me, I am unhappy. So what happiness truly is? Why am I suddenly so unhappy? I'm not meeting those people, I used to work with. I'm not able to go out. I don't have access to all the things that I've had before. And I'm spending so much time with myself. So all of those fears sort of started surfacing, and along with that started surfacing this realization that I am not happy. So if I am not happy, then what truly happiness is? And at that point in time, I was spending a lot of time with myself. So obviously there was a lot of outburst of emotions here and now and then, and seeing the things happening around.
Hmm.
I started to write a lot. I think for me, that was the most creative time. I started to write a lot of poems. I started to, I wanted to find ways to express myself. And I realized there is so much inside me, that is sort of comforting me during this time when nobody is around me.
Hmm.
So, how am I happy with myself? I was someone who could not be with myself alone even for like half an hour. I always wanted people around me except for sleep. So, I realized if I can be, comfortable with myself, then there is definitely more about me. There are more tangents of me that I have not been able to explore. And it all started by, understanding the real idea of happiness. And so I resumed to yoga. I resumed to, internalization in the pursuit of finding what is real happiness, and of course also take care of my health, because that was the time I realized how much damage to my health has already happened. I always give this example that why wait for a heart attack to realize that the world can go on with or without you.
Yes.
So yeah.
So, were you practicing yoga before that? I'm not talking about a yogic way of life. What I'm saying is, see, mostly people think that yoga is just asanas. While you have to be established in the body, yes, before you go on, move on to the other, the Ashtanga yoga, baki ke limbs. But so, when did you start practicing asanas then?
Yes, I wasn't
Okay.
I wasn't practicing yoga at all. And To my surprise, when I started practicing, there was a deja vu. I felt that I have done this before, and that's why yoga came to me so naturally and so fast. People practice, for years to even develop basic discipline, but to me, within some time, that discipline became like everything. So this was not something that it's like
Yeah,
weird
it's
when
an
I'm not,
inner calling. Yeah, an
yeah,
inner
I
calling,
felt
so to say, which
before.
sort of, yes, I understand. How wonderful. And so when you decided to quit your job, there was a lot of naysay, I'm sure, because people think it's a rash decision. People think, ye kya kar rahi hai? So apart from your convictions, and you were practicing yoga at that time, so what kept you going? And how did you stay strong and committed? Because these are the qualities that are required, not just in the personal life, but also your professional life. Like you have to have that conviction and you have to stay the course. And you had just begun. So, what were the practices that helped you? Everybody must have said, Arey, how can you leave a job? It's so, the stability, and that too post COVID. So,
Yeah. I think one thing that truly, like, I'm not gonna say any practice, but one thing that truly helped me, which was already in me, was that I always trusted myself a lot. Like, I am someone who's very determined. If I set my heart on something, I will always pursue it, regardless of what I'm going to achieve it. Because there is one thing about me, and because those 8 years of career were not easy for me, I had built it with a lot of hard work. There were certain
yes,
struggles because of which I could not even complete my educations. And then obviously I had to work harder than everybody else. So trusting myself and my skill set, my capabilities was the only way. So I had always trusted myself. And one thing that really helped me was that, I can always come back to this
yes,
nobody can take away from me. People often
yes,
fear, they consider coming back as a sign of failure. I never considered that. I thought this is something that is already mine. These 8 years of reputation, building relationships, my experience, this is my treasure. And coming back to it is not a sign of failure. And honestly, yoga for me was not a career path, to be honest. I wanted to slow down for self exploration. I wanted to know more about myself, which I had not got any time, those 8 years. That was it. But the break was, and I never thought of building, or teaching or do anything like that. Honestly speaking, I only wanted some break to like go be in that environment, know myself, and then come back to my work life more stronger with more clarity. What I want to, I didn't know that I'll never come back. So yes, one thing
oh,
was trusting myself and not considering anything as failure. Giving my best,
wonderful.
giving my best in what I am doing.
So that was a great break. I mean, this whole swadhyay that you did at that time, right? The self exploration that you talk about, how wonderful. And see, you've been in the corporate world and you began exploring yoga. You know that the corporate world is both physically and mentally extremely demanding. So I know this is it's a broad based question, but how does yoga prepare the mind and body for such hard work?
Okay, so I try to use very generic and sometimes lame
Yes,
examples, but it
please.
always works.
Feel free.
Like
Yes.
how in India when we make rice, some of us actually soak it in water for some time. We do that, right? And then when we cook it, we see it cooks faster, it's easier to cook, and also the quality of the end product is far better when we soak it. That is the power of internalization. So, what is yoga? Yoga is nothing but just withdrawing back for some time, retreating back, going inward. What we fail to understand is that when we are looking for answers, what do? Most of us go and seek it from people, try to look around, try to talk to many people, try to watch videos. Yoga says every answer that you are seeking, Sadhak, it is inside you. All you have to do is internalize, connect to that wisdom within. All this while, I haven't had a single mentor. Let me put it straight up to you, Archana ji. Not even a single mentor in my life till date. How have I done all things right? How have I been able to build Adhyatma Yoga? How have I been able to find the right people? I used to simply close my eyes and sit down, talk to myself, reason with myself, understand, and obviously seek the grace of higher energies that are present. But
Yes.
talking to myself has helped me through everything. So that's what yoga says. Yoga says internalize so much that when you externalize, you are more powerful, you are more influential, and you have more clarity. That's how yoga helps. Whether it is your physical, whether it is your when it comes to physical, a lot of people try to pop a pill when they're sick. Yoga says get to the root of it and let's eradicate. Let me help you eradicate that problem completely. That's how there's a difference between how yoga heals you versus how a pill heals you or pill helps you.
So, do you think, now that we've spoken about how being with yourself has helped you so much, so do you think that today we are very distanced from ourselves, our own
Yes.
selves? And is that why you think we have problems at the workplace also, and with maybe relationships or with our own selves because we've never met ourselves? Can you elaborate a bit, please?
100%, 100% true. Because we always see ourselves from the lens of others. Let me give you an example. Let's see me or somebody else at work. When do we feel that we are good at something? When somebody appreciates us. That somebody is a second person. How many of us do really appreciate ourselves? If you've
Mm.
had so much trust in yourself, like I have had when I left the job, the only thing that worked for me is trusting my skill set and my capability कि कुछ भी हो जाएगा ना लाइफ में ग्रीशा तो अपने आप को पुल कर लेगी तो लॉस नहीं होएगी लाइफ में this something that when I talking to myself I said that you trust yourself you'll never so most of us do not really know our strengths and
Mm.
very easily, we consider anything that is told by others as our weakness without analyzing. If I go on telling someone and again, you're not smart enough, you're not smart enough, that person does not know me. That person is just that person has a perception of me. And he's
Yes.
constantly telling me, you're not smart. I will start believing that I'm not smart enough because I have
Mm.
not really evaluated my skill set. So, one thing that is important is to always analyze your own strengths and weaknesses by yourself. Criticism, feedback helps, but knowing yourself better is only your job and nobody else's.
Lovely, wonderful. And when you were in the corporate world, and I'm not talking specifically about your office or your workplace, I'm talking about workplaces in general. And what do you think are the facilities or changes necessary to make the workplace atmosphere more conducive? For example, there needs to be perhaps a space to unwind or say meditate or just be for some time, that little break that everyone needs. So, did you see that around at the workplaces, or do you think that's lacking?
I think it's lacking, to be honest. I worked for 8 years. I mean, honestly, and I'm going to be brutally honest because it's important that someone speaks about it and being brutally honest, is that wellness practices are just considered some random HR activity done on a yoga day or on a random occasion.
Hmm.
They are not, even if you build an isolated space, it is not going to help unless it is cultivated in the culture of the company. What change needs to happen? We don't need a yoga space, we don't need cushions, we don't need meditation. Even if you have those, if the culture does not allow you to go and sit there, it's not going to work. What needs to change is normalize yogic culture within the work environment. If someone is taking a break to breathe, and if someone is sitting at just one corner trying to meditate, other employees should not make fun of that person looking at what this
Yes,
person.
yes,
And that
yes.
that comes down from the leaders. This is
Mhm.
not something that we can think HR should not organize it. It should come down from a leader should set example to cultivate such culture in a company. And I think leaders do have a great responsibility towards it. They don't Please don't pay money to a wellness instructor and come and conduct a yoga session. I have seen out of 100 people only 20 people take such sessions seriously, because we have also taught.
Mhm.
I've been on this side and I've been on this side, so I know
Mhm.
how much people really take this. Very less people will take it seriously because that it is not in the culture, it is not cultivated well in the minds of people. So what needs to change is maybe not creating a space, but rather have find ways to cultivate it within the culture of the company. And also the leaders need to set examples so that the other
Mhm.
employees in the company begin to find value in what they lead. We look up to them, we look up to the CEOs, to the founders, and if they are living certain lifestyle, we try to follow that. That's the influence leaders have in the company.
Also, if you've seen that self-care seems to come last, you know, the people do things for everybody else, but self-care is always on the back burner. So do you think that also needs to, self-care is not selfishness, right? So that is another mindset that I think needs to be cultivated both on the personal level and the professional level.
Definitely, yes. See, as a corporate employee, you spend 8 to 10 hours in a certain environment, in a certain space. When you go back home, you probably are either with yourself or your family members, and you do not go on sharing everything with them. There are things that you keep with yourself. In an environment where you're spending 8 to 10 hours, it's important. Let me also say this. When I was in corporate, I've had, lots of motivational speakers used to come in our companies telling us how to be successful at work, how to do this. There wasn't even a single person who came just to help us prioritize self care, wellness, how to be good at your personal life. Imagine having someone coming to your workplace and teaching you how to be good at your personal life, how to better your personal life. What company and organizations need to understand that the more they invest in the personal health or the mental health or the physical health of an employee, the company is bound to strive. So what we need, like instead of having all the motivational speakers coming all the time, please invite someone who's a spiritual speaker, someone who can really help you reflect. Someone can help you, can guide you into how one can prioritize self-care, or how one can fix the things that are not good in our personal life, how to set boundaries between the professional and personal life. So because yoga has so much information beyond the mat, that goes beyond the mat, and nobody touched upon that. So it's very important that we invite all kinds of people to come and help shape your personal life as well.
In fact, I was quite interested in your program, Ghar Ghar Yoga, because I felt that if everything, including charity, begins at home, right? So I felt that if you reach houses, I mean, if you reach homes, and this whole mindset begins there, and sort of you come out of the house and you go to the workplace with that in place, there is that ripple effect. Can you tell us a little more about Ghar Ghar Yoga and what your vision is and how you can link it to the workplace?
So honestly, Ghar Ghar Yoga, we've always felt this void when it comes to yogic teachings, and even when we were receiving the teachings and when we started teaching ourselves, there is a lot of emphasis on treating yoga just as asana or just like some movement, or like a physical exercise. But that's not what yoga is. That's probably just 2% of what yoga entirely is. So we always had this feeling in our hearts that people need to learn the importance of holistic yoga, and therefore Ghar Ghar Yoga. That's why Ghar Ghar Yoga, like every house should feel the essence of yoga, holistic yoga, about the real life philosophical tools our shastras and yoga scriptures hold, and very nicely integrating them into our physical practices, our breath practices. A lot of beautiful bhavs are taught in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. What are those bhavs? These are attitudes one needs to develop to calm the mind, to tame this mind, to manage this mind when you are not on the mat. So our objective is to teach yoga in a manner that takes people beyond the mat, that should reflect in your life beyond the mat. And therefore came the practice of this Ghar Ghar Yoga Hatha Yoga Sadhana. And we try and always felt that wellness is not only for privileged community, and therefore we intentionally kept the prices very low so that everybody, so many people, so many college students who have limited pocket monies, they come and join our programs, and they very consistently learn from us. So all of these factors were kept in mind designing this program, and honestly, people have seen huge shift. They said, we've tried, we've been doing yoga at different places, but the way we've done yoga here, it has started to shape our mind beyond the mat. We are more aware of our thoughts, of our emotions, of our reactions. We've started to learn to respond to situations. This is the power of integrating the bhavas, the philosophical aspects of yoga, watching your breath continuously. All of these things you have to teach them. And you cannot teach them only by teaching them asana. They have to be very beautifully integrated.
Yes, yes, yes. That's wonderful. And there is also this belief that, if you're an early riser, if you rise with the sun, okay,
Yes.
that you have a lot of energy and that helps in your work or at the workplace also. So I believe you practiced it yourself, getting up at say what is called the Brahma Muhurta or with the sun. And there are of these 5 a.m. clubs and things around. But can you tell me? I also have one question because if you're that early a riser and then you have to go to work, won't you have a sleep deficit? So how do you balance this? Because you want to be productive at the workplace. Rising early is supposedly, as research says, something that prepares you much better because you have that energy with you. But then there could also be a sleep
Yeah.
deficit, right? Because you're not going to be allowed to nap at the workplace. So please let me know what is your vision and how can it be adopted at the workplace?
Sure.
Yes.
See, sadhana schedule can be different from people like us although we work a lot throughout the day, but we stay at home. So we do have an opportunity to rest, to disconnect from work. But if you're someone who's constantly at workplace where you cannot afford to take breaks like that, then you do not really need to wake up 3:30 a.m., 4 a.m., or 5 a.m. When is the sun rising? By 6 a.m. Try to wake up by 6 a.m. Try to wake up latest by 6:15 a.m. Freshen up and then do your practices for 1 hour. So you do not necessarily need to wake up in Brahma Muhurat. There comes a time in your life when you can afford this. To go ahead, do it. Don't leave that opportunity. But if you are working hard, it's important you spend at least 7 hours sleeping. Believe me, no
Mm.
amount of exercise, no amount of meditation, no amount of anything else will help you if you are not sleeping properly. Sleep is very, very important, especially when you're spending so much time in front of the screen. So yes, if you're someone who has very tight work schedule and you cannot, go to bed before 10 or 11, then please wake up by 6. You don't have to wake up by 4. Even if you wake up by 6, believe me, huge shift in the energies you will feel. Throughout the day, you will feel very, very energetic. And also, what this does is it improvises your sleep cycle. So most people who struggle to sleep on time, when you are waking up early, it's very natural that you will also sleep on time automatically, effortlessly. So yeah, you don't have to be so hard on yourself. Wake up by 6.
So, what are the benefits of rising early? I mean, how can, does it increase productivity at the workplace? Would you have
100%.
a calmer
Sorry.
state of mind? No, no, it would. Please go on. Please.
Yes. So first thing first is, see, everything is energy. We all understand that, right? Even your thoughts are energy. Even your thoughts are energy. When you wake up when the sun is rising, naturally your whole body cycle or your energy cycle gets aligned to your digestive system gets better when you spend 1 hour. So you can wake up early, but if you're watching reels, it's not going to help you. If you're watching TV, it's not going to help you. So what really helps is waking up early and internalizing and spending 1 hour of mindfulness. That changes everything. You get a lot of clarity. Brain fogs get lifted. That's first thing that happens. Happy
Wonderful.
hormones begin to cultivate. So naturally cravings go away when you wake up early and your system started on a lighter note. They say, no, when something starts on a good note, it also ends on a good note. So that is important. So when you do that, your energy system gets better. Hormonal system gets better because the energy system gets aligned to the nature. Digestive system, which is the biggest concern of today's world, gets better. Sleep cycle. 1 in 3 adults are not sleeping properly as per the latest research.
Mm.
That gets
Mm.
better. And when these things are taken care of, your productivity is naturally high. And because you are internalization and internalizing, as I said, the more you go inside, the more answers you get, the more clarity you get. You are more confident, you are more clear, and you are more calmer comparatively. The fear
Mm.
centers, when you do the breathing practice, is also the right way. The
Mm.
fear
Yes.
centers calm down. The amygdala calms down. And that gives you a lot of clarity and calmness throughout the day.
Wonderful. Lately there has been a lot of talk about the number of working hours. Okay. Now, some people say, now, when you have to build something, you cannot say, I'm going to only work for so many hours, especially if it's your dream. You want to put in that hard work without advocating it for everybody or the world. Okay. We cannot say that one person has to work only for so many hours or, everybody has to work for so many hours. But what does yoga say about balance? How do you balance work and, life maybe? So,
Ashna ji, I will give you an example of myself here. You know, a lot of people thought, oh, because you left corporate world, you would have gotten a lot of time for myself. No, I worked more than my corporate life, building up something like Adhyatma Yoga because I was bootstrapping myself. I was trying to put in, I was one man army. I was doing everything, be it
Hmm.
anything and everything I was doing by myself. And then talking to so many people, managing social media, managing my own sadhana, my own learning, my teachings, and then building the classes, platform, and then working on the expansion and growth. I was putting in more working hours than I was in corporate. But what changed? One, I was working for my passion. So when you
Hmm.
work for your passion, that is a meditation in itself. When it is not
Beautiful.
forced on you, it's most important thing. When you work, I have seen artists who go on painting for 12 hours, 13 hours straight, and they are happiest. Why? Because to them it's meditation. So we need to first of all identify the work that we are doing, is it our passion? It's something that we love. And within that space, do not forget to internalize. Even though I was working for so many hours, for example, Ghargar Yoga, when it was launching, I was working for so many hours a day. But immediately after the launch, I went to Vipassana. 10 days
Hmm.
of no phone, no talk, complete silence, 11 hours of meditation. This is what yoga says. It's okay as a human to hit extremes sometime because sometimes the work and the environment demands that. But also be aware that once this is over or once this lighten up, withdraw yourself back. Go inside, shut yourself, be unavailable for some time, bootstrap yourself up again, and then be ready. So it's okay to hit extreme sometimes, but be aware, come back to yourself. This is how I've been able to work on my passion. We've been able to grow faster, and I am honestly at best in my physical, mental, and emotional health at the same time. So this is what is important. So working hours are important, but it is important that even within those time frame, you disconnect yourself for some time. Does not matter how important the other things are. Give yourself 1 hour, 2 hours. And another important thing is know that the efforts that you're putting into is this something that you truly love or not, because that gives you a lot
Hmm.
of power.
Wonderful. That's really wonderful. And I think we have sort of lost the connect with our body because the body keeps giving us signals. So if you're heading towards a burnout and you're not paying heed to it, then obviously you'll go there, right? So
Yes.
you, when the body tells you to slow down, like you did, when you were in the corporate world at the end of 8 years and you said, I want to slow down. I want to have this tehera in my life. I want to have this calm, this oasis. So that is something I think people should sort of be aware of, right? This constant awareness. So does that happen with yoga? I mean, this connect with the body, which we seem to have lost. Can yoga re-establish it?
100%. First thing that, what is the meaning of internalization? First thing that happens is you begin to know yourself. That's what yoga says. Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. That is when the real self gets established within you. That's when you get to meet yourself. That's the sutra in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. When the cessations and the fluctuation of the mind comes down, that's when you get to know yourself. And yoga is just a practice of chitta vritti nirodha, cutting down those fluctuations so you get to know yourself better. Because as I say, everything lies here. So ठहराव उतना ही, tamas उतनी ही important है जितनी rajas important है. That's why they say the nature is a beautiful play of three gunas, tamas, rajas, and sattva. So is human. So is every other being. Tamas, rajas, and sattva.
Nisha, today's world is full of distractions. People are feeling pulled from all sides because there is so much of FOMO, so much of FOMO. And they want to have a part in everything, but that doesn't work, right? And that is also the cause of distress and a lot of stress at the workplace. So, how do you think we can, for example, yoga talks of pratyahar, like a tortoise, that goes within its shell, and you just have to sort of withdraw from everything. So, can you please elaborate on how something like pratyahar can help, you know, people at the
So,
workplace do their job?
sure. Ashna. Pratyahar is the fifth limb of Yoga Sutra, which talks about the withdrawal of senses. So, in in yogic practices, this is something very profound and very higher end practices, withdrawal of senses. But when it comes to the practical implication in for people
Hmm.
like us, withdrawal of senses is nothing but just cutting down or limiting or managing your externalization. Okay,
Hmm.
where does the stress come from? What do you think? It does not come from within. If you close your eyes and take a deep breath, do you feel stressed or you feel happy and relaxed?
Hmm.
Stress is
Yes.
always coming from the outer world. In yoga, they says these five senses are the cause of your stress, and they are also the reason for your calmness and happiness. How? When these senses are externalized and they're constantly taking inputs from the outer world, you are bound to receive more fluctuations in your chitta, in your mind, and therefore get upset with it. Right? The idea of pratyahar is that shut these, when I say shut, not completely cut off, but be mindful of what is coming inside. Withdraw your senses. For example, let me give you a practical example. I am sitting here, and one desk away, two people are sitting in my office environment and gossiping about my boss. I can either choose to engage my senses and waste my energy and time into sitting with them, or I can choose to just cut off myself from there, not get carried away, withdraw my senses, focus on my work, and just get over with the day. This is the practical way of preventing the so much external unwanted information coming into your system, protecting it. That's a practical way. The other way is by closing them, right? By,
Hmm.
for example, meditation, for example, deep breathing, mindfulness for even 3 minutes is nothing but just shutting
Yes.
off all your senses. Your eyes and your mouth take away all of your energy throughout the day. You will see these are the masculine senses. Nose and ears are on the other side. We call them feminine senses, right? Because smell makes you
Mhm.
feel good. The sound makes you feel good. But eyes and mouth are always externalizing. They're always giving
Hmm.
out,
Hmm.
right? These to give you more input. Therefore, it's important that you take 3 minutes good break, 2 minute good break throughout. You can even set reminders on your phone. You spend so much time and energy
Hmm.
watching reels. Have three time sets, three reminders set on
Hmm.
your
Hmm.
phone where they say time to internalize. So you will shut everything, you will close everything, just close your eyes and sit. Just
Hmm.
close everything, every disconnect every sense. In 3 minutes, you will see you will recharge yourself by just closing your eyes and closing your mouth. So that is the mindfulness practice is on the other side, being mindful of what information is coming in and whether I choose to engage with that information or not. That is the practical example of pratyahar in a place like corporate.
So that is also ahara, right? When you're taking
Yes.
stuff
Aha.
in through your five senses. When people speak of ahara, they only think of sattvic ahara, which they think of food and not what goes in through the five senses, because that is all ahara, right? And it is also said that food is, an extremely important part of your body, your mental setup, your emotional being. But what kind of food? And I'm not talking about, we are not getting into vegetarian, non-vegetarian at all.
Yes,
What we
yes.
are getting into is, yes, what is the kind of food that you need to ingest, to be able to be productive? What is it that gives you energy? So, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
First
And the
thing
time
first.
also.
Sure.
Yes.
First thing first is any food that comes with a shorter shelf life. Any food that sit on the shelf with 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, X number of months or years of validity, do not minimize that. I'm not saying cut off completely, minimize that. See, idea is not to go in extremism. The idea is to have balance. So it's not that you cut off yourself from the pleasures of your tongue, or your taste,
Mm,
but also
mm,
have balance. So one thing is that include a lot of high pranic foods, which we say, what is a high pranic food? See, when
mm,
you pluck a fruit from the tree, the fruit remains as it is for so many number of days. That means the fruit also has, it contains a high prana. The prana is still running within the food. right? So
Hmm.
that's why they also say do not overcook your vegetables. Try to
Hmm.
have them lightly cooked, cook them on low flame. Why? Because you are trying to kill the prana by adding so much masala to it. So have all sorts of vegetable lightly cooked, have all sorts of fruits in your diet, have all sorts, have light meals, have wholesome grains. Cut down on instant grains, instant noodles, instant this, even maida, things like that. Cut down on them, enjoy. And one thing that I really loved, the change that I felt, that once in a while when I consume something like this, I actually enjoy that. Because for me it's like, yes, I am enjoying like a little piece of samosa after like a month or something. So it becomes like a, for me, fritters and chai is something that I'll have on a rainy day, that adds so much to my life. So that is what we need to do. So include more high pranic food in your diet. That's very, very important. Have a wholesome meal, have healthy grains in your diet. Have, try to, when I say sattvic, try to add vegetables in everything. Even in your chapati, you can have spinach, you can have methi, you can have, so even in your chapati, you can even put ghee, tori, bottle gourds. All that can be, very nicely done in your, added to your dough. So try to add more vegetables in your diet, light meals, eat less than your hunger. That's a thumb rule. If you're eating healthy, but you're always full, you're stuffing food in your system, that is not going to help you. It is going to really bring your energy down. Timing of the food, as per Ayurveda, they say you should follow the sun for your meals. So try to have your morning breakfast should not be very, very heavy actually.
Hmm.
Some mistake that we, a lot of us do, they say that when the sun is rising, it's slowly bringing up its heat. Similarly, within your system, the jathar agni, the digestive fire, is also slightly building up. At that time, if you put a lot of parathas and makhans and pohas and all of that going inside, so you're just trying to burden your digestive fire. And that's why you see a lot of people cannot digest parathas, because their digestive agni is comparatively weak and they feel too full and lethargic. So by afternoon between 12 to 1, try to have a heaviest meal of the day. And when I say heaviest here, you can have curries, you can have chapatis, you can have all those things. So slightly heavier meal, because the sun is at its peak and so is your digestive fire. Digestion is very, very, that's why after eating lunch, people feel little sleepy. Why? Because the digestion, when digestion is happening, naturally your rest of the energy will come down, because digestion is sucking up all the energy and trying to digest that heavy meal. That is the time. So taking a little bit of walk after the meal, or just giving yourself like close your eyes and rest for 5, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, it will be very, very helpful. And then in the evening, sun going down, Jataragni going down again. So then have a lighter meal by 7 p.m. If 7 is too hard for you, 7 to 8. I mean, you will laugh at me when I say that when I started, following the path of mindfulness and healthy living, I used to carry so many dabbas because I knew I'm going to get late in the office. So I'll also carry my dinner. Imagine. This is the
Hmm.
dedication. People used to make fun of me that I'm sitting with folded legs on a chair and eating with my hand. They said, what is wrong with you? I said, for the first time in life, everything is going right. Nothing is wrong with me.
Wonderful.
I used to sit
Wonderful.
in Vajrasan on a chair. People used to make fun of me. Somebody also complained to HR. I'm like, I don't care. So this is how, that's how we normalize. And those people call me and appreciate me today, because that time they made fun of me.
Hmm.
This is important. See, it's important that you're not, listening to
Yes.
everybody's, and taking care of yourself. So carry 5, 6 dabbas, but just take care of yourself.
Wonderful. What, according to you, is a happy workplace? What are the key essentials? Because I was speaking to your colleague and she was talking about how it's wonderful to be working with you because there is this egalitarian atmosphere. There is so much love and affection. So, what is it that you have introduced at your workplace? And since you're working with corporates, what, according to you, should a workplace have to make it a happy place, a happy, fulfilling, productive place? How do we build happy workplaces?
I think the first factor about that is, if you look forward to going to that place with a lot of joy and happiness in your heart, that's it. If you dread it, then that means either you don't like your work or don't like the place. something or the other. So you should be looking forward to it. So you should not be dragging yourself out of the bed. You should feel
mm,
active. So that's something that I had in my mind when I was building this environment, at Adhyatma Yoga. Second, being sensitive to the emotional needs of people working with you. I have mothers working with me. I have people who come with, different struggles and backgrounds, of their own. So giving them flexibility, understanding them, allowing them to
mm,
be productive. Third thing is truthfulness and honesty, like being very honest on the faces of people, not trying to butter up. I think that happens a lot in corporate environment where people
mm,
are just not true to you. If you are not doing something right, it's good to walk up to that person and speak heart to heart, as opposed to just boiling gossips about that person. So I think that is something that, and calling my workmates my family, I think that's something that changes everything. I call them my family. There's a more, and I often take out time to appreciate each one of them in front of everybody, like counting, saying thank you to them for every little thing that they do for Adhyatma Yoga, like appreciating that regardless of their own personal struggles, how much time and energy they put. So just a simple gratitude and thank you can change a lot of things. I think these little things can truly, and helping them, most important is helping them see their strengths and helping
mm.
them also rise above their weaknesses. So this is the job of a mentor, not criticize people. Who is a mentor? Someone who can uplift people who want to get
Mm.
uplifted. So I think that is something that sets our culture little apart from the other work environments.
Yes, yes. When we talk of work-life balance, can we really, have these watertight compartments that this is work and this is life? Because it's the same body and the same mind that's living it, right? Because work is part of life. So then how does one live, blending the two? So, how do you learn to switch on and switch off? What is the role of breath here?
So I think I'm going to answer it in two ways. Of course, I'll cover the breath, but in practicality, something that's very easy to understand. When you come back home, Archana ji, from a very hectic day, what is the first thing you do? You will keep your bag and go and change. Why do you change your clothes? Why can't you just go into the bed with the same clothes? And why can't you eat your dinner? Why do you have to rinse yourself? Because my body is not comfortable in these clothes. I have come from a different environment. These clothes were fit for that environment, but my pajamas are fit for my comfort at home. Very simple example. This is what we say drawing borders, setting borders. Know that if your body needed change, your body needed rinsing, your mind also needs to change. It needs to understand that this was my that environment, but now I have entered my home. I need to also change my mind, clean it up, reset. So, this is a training of the mind. If you go on carrying the fears of your work into your personal life, one thing that can only change this is setting boundaries. And that's the most important thing we need to understand. If you are at work, know that I'm going to give my 100% at work. But when I'm at home, I'm going to give my 100% to myself and my family. So, setting boundaries is very, very important. And this is what we call balance. Honestly, Archana ji, whoever is listening to me, from my heart to yours, even if you're not here in this company tomorrow or elsewhere, the world will go on. You are replaceable. You are replaceable. The only one person that needs your true attention is yourself. You can be replaced everywhere in life, but this one person cannot be replaced. Please know that. Your love for the self cannot be replaced. So, if you have tasted the nectar of internalization and self love, no, you don't need to learn it from anyone, or don't need to ask anyone, how do I manage my life? Because you truly discover the power of internalization. Once that is discovered, believe me, you will set boundaries, you will do everything on your own because you have tasted the fruit of internalization. That is why we say, even if it is hard to take out 30 minutes, take out anyway. Because once you have tasted the fruit of internalization, you will come back to it over and over again, and that will become your priority as well.
Wonderful. So, is that the most important learning along your journey? Or is there
100%.
something more that you need to tell us?
I have had so many learnings. One of them is if I die tomorrow, anyone will replace me. What will remain? The change that I bring to society, the things that I add value to the society. One of the things I want to say here is when we consider promoting someone in a corporate environment, only factor for us is how many KRAs you have met, how much value you've added to the work. I think what corporate needs to change here is look at people who add value to your culture, who bring love, compassion, kindness to your company, all of these feelings, empathy to your company. Who is that one person who is always uplifting everyone? That should be a factor. Who is that one person who always cares about others? That should be a factor. Who is that one person who, selflessly focus on educating people around and create that beautiful environment? That should be a factor. Not only how much KRAs you have completed. So I think when you get promoted, you need to also evaluate the value that the person is adding to the culture, and that's it. Work can always be taught, it can always get better. But what value a human being brings to a culture, that cannot be replaced. So I always felt in my heart that what, Grisha, you have this much time in this life. What value can you bring to this environment, to humanity? That's all that matters. And this body can be
That's
replaced. I can die anytime. I don't care. I leave behind something which is meaningful. That's all that matters.
This is wonderful, Disha. And may I request you to take us through a very short, calming meditation, please? Thank you.
Oh, just relax yourself. Begin to loosen up your toes. Just for a moment, analyze how gently your feet are resting onto the floor. Now bring your awareness to your breath. Breathe in and watch this breath traveling up your nasal passage, nasal cavity, back of your throat, all the way to your heart center. And as you exhale, observe the breath traveling up again, nasal passage and back to the chest. Now very gently bring your right hand on the top of your head. Gently breathe in. Breathe. Try to soften your breath more. Feel a sense of support and connection with the self. Breathe in as your hand touches your forehead. Breathe out. Breathe in. Let this breath be slightly longer but slower than before. Breathe. Bringing your right hand onto your chest. Breathe in. Feel a gentle expansion of your chest. Don't forget to carry a gentle smile on your face. Exhale gently. Observe the chest dropping down. Breathe in, expand. Feel the fullness of the breath within your chest. Breathe out. Breathe in one more time. Let this be the longest breath. Breathe. Slide the right hand onto your belly. Now breathe in, expanding your belly like a balloon. Feel the fullness of the breath within your abdomen. Breathe out. Slowing down even more. Breathe in. Breathe. One more. Breathe. Breathe. Placing both your hands on your face gently, covering your eyes. 3 breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Keeping your eyes closed, taking your hands off your face, staying there, and gently smile. Smile for no reason. How beautiful it is to be happy for no reason. Know that the true happiness never has any reasons, because the happiness is constantly prevailing within you. All we need is to just turn inward and meet that happiness. One more time, take a breath in. And with exhale, opening up your eyes gently. Hari Om.
Thank you so much, Greesha ji. Thank you so much. And to that, we come to the end of this wonderful conversation. And thank you so much for your amazing insights and all the very best for your corporate vision. Thank you so much.
Thank you.